Often people that go straight to medication see it as a shortcut rather than fixing the actual underlying issue.
This dog would have like explosive diarrhea. She would walk out of the house and this dog would just spray the walls and everything. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be at in this beautiful world of ours. This is Canine podcast. And with me, as always, is the lovely Taylor. How are you today, ma'am?
I'm good. Enjoying having all my windows open.
Yes, fall is upon us. It is quite nice. That time of day or time of year where you leave the house in the morning at 6 o'clock, go to the gym, you have a heater on, your seat warmers, and then by the afternoon, you get the AC. If you are new to the podcast, we are just two talking heads talking about one of our favorite subjects, dog training, and all the fun stuff that comes along with that. So if you are new, welcome. So with that said, what is on the agenda today, Taylor?
A topic that I think it's taken us a while to talk about, but something that affects a lot of people is separation anxiety in dogs and how you address it.
Probably because it gives me anxiety.
You don't have anxiety.
Yeah. Yes, that is a topic that comes across a lot. And I think a lot of people have the best intentions when trying to deal with it, but go about it completely wrong. And typically when people are calling and asking about it and they tell me what they're doing, I explain to them what's really going on. How is your dog perceiving this event and how are they understanding this? And now I feel bad because, I'm kind of like the a-hole that had to like explain it to them, but it's like they didn't know. They had like the best intentions with what they knew and maybe some poor advice. Separation anxiety is the fear of separation, right? The fear of being alone. Dogs are pack animals, so they want to be with their pack. They want to be with their family and their unit. So when that separation happens, inevitably it does, at some point in time, how do we mitigate that? How do we lower the anxiety of this dog to make their experience with it better?
Yeah. And I think going from a foundational viewpoint in terms of like wolf, right? Like it's not normal for new members of the pack, like newborn puppies. It's not normal for them to be away from their mother from any amount of time. It's normal for them to sleep very close to their mother. The first 6 weeks of their life, they're probably not even leaving the den. So, a lot of people think, well, I can just bring home a new puppy or I can just bring home a new dog, throw them in the crate downstairs, go upstairs to bed, and they quickly find out that doesn't work because the dog starts vocalizing and they can't sleep. I have a client that's having this problem. And something that you find in ethology is it's very normal for the new baby to sleep very close to the parents. And then as they get older, they move a little farther away, a little farther away, a little farther away, a little farther away. I think that's a good strategy. Start out where the dog can see you. Like maybe you put the crate next to your bed, or if they're just sleeping on a dog bed, put the dog bed next to your bed. And every week, maybe you move it a little farther until it's where you want them to be.
There's a documentary, it's on Netflix, and it's called Seawolf. And it takes place up in Vancouver off one of the islands up there, where one of the wolf puppies gets left behind because it's injured. And of course, you fall into the narration of like, we're going to go off on our hunt and we'll be back. However, the father, he comes back looking for him. He's on the beach where they last departed from, and he just spends his time just howling and calling for this puppy to be able to find it. And I'm just like calling and calling and calling, and that's that separation anxiety. So it's not just like, oh, new puppies in the house and they got to use their kennel. It's across all ages, across all demographics of dogs, and all different scenarios. When they feel alone and there's something not right, they're going to vocalize and express it.
Yeah. You talk about this a lot, right? The idea that dogs are den animals, but there are things that people do that make the crate a bad experience for the dog, right?
Always looking at the scenario through your dog's vision, like through their eyes. How are they perceiving this? So you get a 9-week-old puppy fresh from the litter, and they come home. They don't understand a single thing that's going on. And all of a sudden they're thrust into this cage and the door is shut and people are left. And up to this point, every moment, every minute of their life, they've been with their pack mates, their litter mates. They've been with their mom. And all of a sudden, like that, and it's all gone. And I'm in a strange new environment. Everything's new. Everything smells. I'm scared. I'm crying. This is what's going on, right? This is what's going to happen to this dog. And now they're vocalizing, trying to say, "Hey, mom, I'm here. Come find me. Littermates, come find me. I'm scared." And they want that comfort, right? So we want to start working on one, the bond with the dog. So the dog feels trust and love and respect with its new owners, but making the kennel that safe place. So I will share what I do with Taliana. So she was not okay in a kennel at all first day. So to alleviate that, I had basically a baby playpen set up, and every day I made it a little bit smaller to the size of the kennel that she was going to be in. I gave her favorite things in there that she only got when she was in there, in the playpen or the kennel. She also had access to the kennel the entire time in there so she could go in and play. I fed her in her kennel. So the kennel became a place of sanctuary and safety and not a punishment. It wasn't a negative thing. So that place became a fun place. And then when I was playing with her and just having bonding with her, I would throw her ball in there. I'd throw her collie in there. She'd run in there and get it and come out. This is my spot. This is my den. Mine. I don't share this with anybody. And now it becomes a value in the dog's mind and not a punishment.
My 2 cents about if you're looking to buy a kennel or if you think maybe you need a different kennel, this is just my 2 cents. You might have a completely different opinion. In my mind, there's 3 levels of kennels. There's the wire kennels, which are the cheapest. And you can get the biggest ones for the least amount of money. There's the kind of airline kennels, they're plastic. And then there's like kind of high-end escape-proof kennels like the impact crates or variations thereof. And I've got a dog that's completely fine in wire kennels. I've got dogs that are completely fine in airline kennels. And then I got dogs that if I had them outside of my house, I would only want them in impact crates. It's up to you and your budget and what you think will keep your dog safe. A lot of times, dogs in wire kennels that have separation anxiety will bend the bars. Ripple broke his teeth doing that. He's got tons of separation anxiety. He cannot be in a wire kennel at all. He's much safer in an airline crate where it's a lot harder for him to get his teeth around things because it's molded plastic. And the other thing is, as far as conditioning the dog to the kennel, like you were talking about the gradual process, right? You didn't just throw her in the kennel and let her cry it out. That's
Yep.
generally not very good advice. You can do the stuff with the food and, showing them that they get a treat they only ever get in their kennel. But another thing, I started doing tug games with Ripple where if he wanted, it was Premack principle, if he wanted the tug, he had to first go in the crate and then I'd say free and he could run out and get his tug. And we'd do like 10 repetitions of that. And it really, really helped him to see the kennel as like, okay, I go in here, but it's not so bad.
Well, that's important. Like when I'm telling clients, to like break it down to like baby steps of getting their dog used to it. You don't like go from throwing the ball and then they're running out to like locking the door or like feeding them and then locking the door. I always broke it down to like the door is fully open. They can see their way out. They're eating. And then maybe the next day it's closed an inch more, an inch more, inch more, inch more, inch more. And you can build on that process. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight to get them to that level. And the other thing I always did, especially with Taliana, I made the process of dad leaving kind of a fun thing for her, where that process became part of like, oh, I want dad to leave. And now I'm gonna get my favorite chew toy. I'm gonna get my raw bone. I'm gonna get my collar, whatever it may be. And now I'm being my kennel. And I'm okay with that. And there's also, we've talked about this before, that whole show about like sniffing and your dog smelling. And there's a lot of science behind dogs that understand time through scents. So we know that dogs don't know what an hour is or what 5 minutes is. It's essentially the same thing to them. They have no idea, right? But they do understand that your smell is diminishing. And that's how scientists believe dogs understand you've been gone a while. And so I always tell clients doing this process, and especially when you got to leave your dog for the first time, give them a shirt that you've been wearing all day. Give them your pillowcase. Give them something that, might they chew up, whatever, it's fine, because they might find relief in chewing something to lower their anxieties. But it's basically like a human air freshener. They're constantly smelling you. And that smell is not diminishing as fast as if you just left the room. And so they understand their world through scent, right? I might not be able to see mom, but she's here. I know it, and I'm safe, and I'm okay.
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested. What's your 2 cents on people who say, "Oh, my dog's really anxious when I leave, and I'm thinking about getting him a friend."
No, they're pack animals. That's actually one of the reasons I got Lego was for Taliana. Because as Taliana got bigger, she couldn't play with Ollie anymore. Igor is too old to play with Taliana. And so I got Lego for her. And that really helped with her drives and helping lower her negative behaviors simply by allowing her to express herself and that chase and that play with Lego. Having that path there is good. However, I say with a caveat, have the time for both dogs. Don't take it into the dog and think it's going to take their place of you. I've
Yeah.
worked with enough rescue with mastiffs, with West Coast Mastiff Rescue, where there was numerous times that people were surrendering two dogs, two mastiffs, and they were doing this because I thought they'd be good friends together, but they're still having behavioral issues. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're self-advocating, because they're still not drives aren't being met, and they're still having issues.
And that's what I was gonna say is I think in general, that's the best situation when it's a person like you who you are responsible and you'd be committed to taking care of both dogs and you also understand what they need, right? Versus somebody who's just like, well, I don't have time for this dog, so I'm going to get another one. Don't do that. You didn't have time for one. You're definitely not going to have time for two. They can't fix each other, right?
Yes.
But in the context of like, like my dogs are never alone, ever. They're always with at least one other dog. And you're right, like, it's a pack environment, but it's more like they're the children, so to speak, and they still need guidance from the adult, and if the
Mhm.
adult doesn't have time for all the children, bad things happen. I mean, Ripple can play with Bowie in a way that no human can ever play with Bowie, and I think that that's a tremendous advantage.
You have, dogs that can play with each other like that. Like, I would never play with Taliana the way she plays with Cat and with Lego. One, her dew claws are too damn sharp. But yeah, it's true. You have to still have all those things in there. So alleviating anxiety by just getting a second dog can help, but it can compound your issues if you're not already, exhibiting dominance and leadership for your dog and providing for them and doing these things. Because if your dog digging holes in the backyard, a second dog is probably gonna start digging holes in the backyard. Like twice as many issues.
You gotta take care of the issues, that you're having as a handler before you say, "Oh, I'm gonna go get a second dog to, like, help with this." The last kind of point I was gonna ask about is medication, right? So
Mhm.
very often people will say, "My dog has separation anxiety," went to the vet, got him on the dog version of Xanax, I think is what it is. My kind of view of that is if you were to medicate your child for something like that, you would wanna make sure you're checking all the boxes first, right? Are they getting enough exercise? Are they getting enough outlets? Are they eating correctly? Do they have enough of what they need just as a being, right? So your dog has a certain set of needs that they need because they are a dog. Are you fulfilling all of those things to the best of your ability? Very often, people that go straight to medication see it as a shortcut rather
Mhm.
than fixing the actual underlying issue.
Yeah. If you go that route, like if it's that bad, like so, I'll give you an example. I had a client I worked with for a little bit, obedient and stuff. I was trying to help her with her crate training, but she just wasn't listening. This dog would have like apparently I never saw it, so I had to take her word for it. Was having like explosive diarrhea. Like, she would walk out of the house and this dog would just spray the walls and everything, and it was bad. So I gave her some ideas on how to contain the mess, so this continues to happen. Not 100% sure that this was strictly anxiety. I think there's some dietary issues in there as well. But in that scenario, because of how bad this was, is that's where maybe some medication might help. However, if you're going to go that route with the expectation of I'm going to be off this meds by this date. Have an end goal, just like if you were going to get on a medication that you could get off of by doing X, Y, and Z things, then do that.
Yeah.
Use as an opportunity to help make it a little easier, but it's not a long-term thing.
What we're saying is, like, within this context, dogs should not have to be on psychiatric medications long term like that. Dogs aren't people, right? A person could have, chronic severe depression or bipolar disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, right? Things that are chemically wrong in the brain, structurally wrong in the brain. dogs, when you're using drugs, it's to facilitate behavioral changes to make the dog's life and your life easier. In the long term, it would be much better for you to actually make the behavioral changes through training or through management or, all these things that we're talking about so you can enjoy your life with your dog more.
And all you're doing when we're training for like separation anxiety is just a conditioning. We're deconditioning, right? To understand that the world's not ending because you're alone.
Yeah.
You know,
My dogs are crated next to each other, so they can always, when we're alone, they can always see each other and smell each other.
my dogs are next to each other, all three of them, when they're in the crates, and when I have to have them there, they're pack animals. They don't want to be separated. And when it was first introduced in a crate for sure. And I see people do this. I think for me it's a common sense, but I've seen people not do it. They have a crate, have a plastic bottom on it, and that's it. They don't put anything in there. There's no bed. There's no nothing. And so you're like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
would you lay in there? Make you comfortable. Put some padding in there. Put a bed in there. No wonder the dog doesn't want to be in there.
My dogs value their crate so much. Like, one dog cannot go in another dog's crate. Like, there's a big no-no in my house, especially Bowie's crate. Holy crap. Like, that's their space. It's not something that they don't care about. So, like, when you have to go somewhere, you probably don't have any flight risk dogs. I would consider Tally a flight risk dog. And you probably have a lot of clients that have dogs that they're just like, I can't just take this dog to, like, my vet and board it, or Dogtopia, or somebody on Rover, because this dog will jump a 10-foot fence to come find me or something like that, right? My first option would always be like close family members. So like, for example, if I have to go somewhere, my sister is always the one that watches my dogs because she understands their instruction manual. Otherwise, the flight risk comes with me. If she's unavailable, the flight risk comes with me. But the other thing is, like, there's some people out there that specialize in boarding hard to board dogs. And I don't know if you want to put in a plug for maybe future plans.
Oh yeah, I know what actually are. We're the little sidebar to an update. So the wall's been replaced. They don't allow it. They're gonna clean the HVAC. They're gonna do all that stuff. So that being said, I'm actually ordering my kennels this week. They'll take several weeks to pack and ship, 3 to 4 weeks, hopefully, get them assembled. Hopefully I can bribe your husband to come down and help me assemble them. And at that point, I'm going to be offering boarding for most of them being prior clients, because some of them are, our clients, they just have, aggressive dogs. They have dogs that can't go to a normal place, or they're not neutered and they can't go to a place like that. So they'll more than happy to come leave them with somebody they know, and I know their dog and they trust me, and they'll do that stuff. So hopefully that will work out. That is separation anxiety. Got that over with because my anxiety level is now lower.
Your separation anxiety is now lower.
Yeah. Well, we haven't, we've been catching back up on this from being out and being sick and everything. So doing good. So if you guys have any ideas on how to work on separation anxiety, love to hear about it. Drop it in the comments. And if you like what we're talking about, share it, comment, let us know what you think. If you have any ideas for other shows you want us to do, please pop it in. As we always say, and we always do, train smart.